Hi, today I'm at Hebburn-based EQS and I'm joined by CEO Michael Hall and its chair Neil Stephenson. And this is one of a series of podcasts that will be taking place throughout 2024 where I'll be highlighting fast-growing and ambitious businesses as well as the role of various people who are helping to advise them, such as the chair and the legal and the financial advisors. So I'm going to come over to you first of all, Michael, and can you just tell us a little bit about EQS and its journey to date, please?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So EQS is a diversity and inclusion business. It was born out of a management buyout that myself and the team did 3 years ago now, with the aim of really consolidating the diversity and inclusion market and creating a market leader in that space. We've grown quite quickly through acquisition. So we've done 4 acquisitions since the management buyout in December 20. And we're now at about 100 staff and 4 offices across the UK.
Okay, and what's your ambition for EQS?
There's still a lot more work to do. So our aim is to be 3 to 4 times the size of where we are now over the next 5 years, and really to create an end-to-end diversity and inclusion business. So rather than just doing one component of it, looking at helping clients on that full inclusion journey, but not just helping them with either the consultancy part or the training part, but actually looking at that initial analysis of where they are on that inclusion journey, and then helping them to embed their strategies.
And at what point in the EQS journey did you decide to appoint a chair?
It was straight away. So Neil was previously a non-exec for the business before we did the MBO, and we knew we were serious about scaling the business. So I would say for any business that's serious about scale and that has big ambitions, then the role of chair is absolutely critical.
So what skills were you looking for within the role of chair?
Someone who'd been there and done it, someone on there who'd been in my seat and scaled a business in a similar kind of way, and also being used to dealing with the kind of stakeholders that we're going to have to deal with as well as we go on our journey. So Neil's got had a business with and that had private equity backing. We had a funder in to support us with the MBO. So I really needed kind of someone that understood that landscape really well, but also brought operational knowledge and skills in terms of how to lead a growing business that's constantly changing.
Great. And Neil, can you tell us a little bit about Stevenson Ventures first of all as well, please?
Yeah, I can do. So I do a range of investing, coaching, mentoring. I do that under the Stevenson Ventures banner. Typically tech businesses, fast-growing businesses, invested businesses that are on a buy and build, that are looking for expertise, mentorship, maybe incomplete teams, maybe looking to add to their C-suite. So that's typically what I do.
And as your role of chair at EQS, how did you help to set the strategy?
So I think the chair needs to understand that they are a key component of strategy. So not necessarily the doing of it, but the strategic direction of the business, how we're creating value, how we interact with shareholders. That means you've got to have a great relationship with the top team. You really have. You've got to have a superb relationship with the chief exec, because you ought to be talking to them all the time. You've got to understand their own personal journey, why they're doing it. You've got to help and support them. Those things are really important. Strategy doesn't just happen. It takes a bit of time. You've got to evolve it. You've got to work on it. And that's really how I do it.
And probably one for both of you to answer. So when scaling a business, how do you ensure that the business keeps its focus?
So I think it's around setting the right tone at board level first, and making sure that everyone around the board table is agreed with the strategic direction of the company. I think that's step one. You've got to be aligned as a board, and then making sure that everyone throughout the business understands that strategy and understands how they can contribute to it. And you can do that by putting in place kind of operational frameworks, which is one thing that we use within the business extensively, to make sure that everyone's clear about what the strategy is and how they're contributing to it.
And I think the bit I would add is not everything works. Not everything's smooth. Things are bumpy. You've got to have a bit of experience of that. You've got to understand it. You go through times where it's really hard. You've got to be persistent. You've got to recognise that today might be disappointing, but tomorrow's a better day. Better times are ahead. So it's just about working with the team to ensure they understand that. And not everybody stays on message all the time. They just don't. You have to help them to stay on message. It's a common thing.
And for both of you as well, what would be your top tips for, an organisation looking to scale?
For an organisation looking to scale, I would say team's number one, and that includes the chair and the board. So if you haven't got a top team who are going to support one another, that all bring different things to the business, but that ultimately are all there trying to achieve the same thing. I think that's the critical part, and the chair's got to be a big part of that. So top team's probably the biggest factor. And then after that, it's making sure that you've got the infrastructure and the capability underneath, that kind of next level down, both in terms of management team, but then in terms of how you operate the business day to day as well. But biggest focus is always people. So making sure that ultimately you create a good place for people to work.
Yeah.
And you treat people the way you want to be treated. We spend a lot of our time at work, and you want to at least enjoy the people that you're working with and the environment that you're in. So I think they're the kind of three core things that you need, I think.
Excellent. And Neil?
So I probably would agree with Michael on all of those. I'd probably add 3 key questions that I ask all businesses. So first of all, how do we make money? That's just such an important question. What's the business model? How does this business make money? Who does it sell to? And who does it not sell to? Really important. Who's the customer? Why are they important? And then there's just the proposition piece, which is just why do those customers want to buy that thing? I think if you get those 3 things right, you build it with a great team. You build a great business. So it's all about proposition, customers, economic model, how we make money.
And Neil, as a company grows, how important is it for it to profile raise awareness of the business as it goes to the market?
So it's absolutely essential. You spend a lot of time, you invest heavily to make sure that customers, investors, shareholders, banks, intermediaries, they all understand who you are and what you do. You will not have the success you want unless you've got a good profile. I would never want somebody to say of one of my businesses, what do they do? Or who the chief exec is. And fortunately in this one, everybody knows what we do and everybody knows and likes Michael. So that profile raising is really important. It's a lifelong investment in the value of your business, is to raise yours and your business's profile.
And Michael, for 2024, what's the strategy for EQS? Where do you want to be?
So we've got a few more acquisitions potentially in the pipeline, and it's about building on what we've done so far. So we've, as I said at the start, we scaled very, very quickly, and we've spent a lot of time, the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, making sure that all the cultures were aligned and that the businesses were well integrated. And we needed to do that work before we could go on to the next phase. That piece of work's always ongoing. It's never done, but we're in good shape for that, and now starting to look for the future as to how we accelerate growth again.
So just picking up on the point of ensuring that the culture's in place. So how did you do that?
A lot of time and effort with the teams. Actually running it was the kind of journey that we had to go through. Running a business that has one office and 40 staff is very different from running a business that has 100 staff and 4. So we've expanded the management team first and foremost. We've kind of widened we've kind of widened the decision-making pool. So there's a lot more people involved in the evolution of the business now, and in contributing to the business strategically. You've got to be a bit more patient. So it's quite easy when you've got one office. You see everyone every day. Everyone gets to know you, and it's quite easy to build that relationship. You've got to work a lot harder when you've got a bigger business that's more dispersed. But you've just got to put the time and effort in, and you've got to make sure that your top team are all aligned.
Brilliant. And as a CEO, I guess how important is it to have a strong support network as well?
Massive. I mean, it can be quite a lonely job. So it's really important that you've got people that you can talk to outside of the business. And I think that's twofold really. One is around one's around actually emotional well-being and making sure that you have got someone there that you can speak to when things aren't going the way you would like them to, and actually get you to see the wood for the trees. And Neil's been very good at that. So it's really important that as chief exec, you have got people that you can talk to outside of the business, because it's a high pressure job. And then the second thing is wider than just the chair. It's about making sure that you bring in the best expertise that the business can afford from into the business. So that's why we choose to partner with the likes of yourself and other professional advisors as well, who are really kind of top of their game to come in and add value to the business.
So could you just mention some of those other advisors as well? So who would they be?
Yeah, so we've worked very closely with Ward Hadaway. Okay. They do all of our legal work for all of our acquisitions, and Rycroft Glenton, who do all of our who again do advice for us on fundraising, on the acquisition strategy as well. And it's actually just really helpful to have that outside view, sometimes kicking the tires on the strategy, on the direction of the business. And they see a lot of different things, a bit like Neil. He's chair of a few different businesses, so they see how things are being done outside of the organisation, and can often bring that insight as to how other people have tackled the challenges that you're facing, because everyone's generally faced the challenge in some way, shape or form at some point. Challenges of growing a business they're always slightly different for each organisation, but they're not really unique challenges. They always kind of come down to a few similar points. So just understanding how the challenges that others have been through and what they've learned from those challenges to try to avoid making the same mistakes. You make your own mistakes and then you learn from those. But actually having the benefit of that experience outside of the business in terms of how to tackle challenges or opportunities that the business faces is definitely beneficial.
And finally, for somebody who's wanting to start their own business, what advice would you both give them?
You go first on that one, I'll follow you.
Sorry, I definitely will. So start with the end in mind. It's really important what you're trying to build in 10 years' time, not in 10 weeks. So what does this thing need to look like? I go straight to customers. I think who's the customer, and I like economic model. I think those things are just really the crux of any good business, is all around being focused on that. And then I think, whenever I meet people who are starting a business, I always look and I think, is there somebody who can do it on their own, or is there somebody who needs to be part of a team? And I think know yourself is really important. So just recognising what your own strengths are, and then that we don't deal much in truth and fact when we're looking at ourselves, I don't think, most of the time. So that's probably the bits I would look at.
Michael, what would you say?
I think getting outside perspectives on your business idea is really important, and perspectives from people that are unlikely to think like you. So going and asking someone to sort of lift the bonnet on the business and almost tear your idea apart is often quite helpful, because they'll point things out that you might not have thought about. Neil's quite good at throwing in alternative perspectives, even if that's not his view, just to test and just to challenge, and he does that regularly. I'm getting better at understanding when he's actually doing that, but it's healthy to have different perspectives. So I would say anyone starting a business is, you're going to get really passionate about your idea, and you often don't see what the the challenges are going to be. So seeking out people with experience who've, particularly if they've been in the kind of industry that you're in, or have tried to achieve something similar, I think that's pretty critical.
Great, some good advice there. So thank you very much for your time, and look forward to being part of and watching the journey of EQS moving forward.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.